guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I just wanted to kind of touch on Money Monday, since it is Monday, and just go to the next step in the process. So last week I posted a video about the first thing that you want to do when you're taking hold of your finances and trying to really just get on a budget and just really get your life together when it comes to your financial situation. And the first step was just simply writing down everything that you spend money on for an entire 30 days. So, I mean, it seems simple, but it can be really difficult, especially when you start to actually see what you're spending money on. And it should get to a point that if you're spending money on junk food all the time, constantly eating out, doing shopping that you really could just wait on until you've paid off some debt, you may even get to a point where you start to feel bad about these purchases. And sometimes that's the goal of writing down what you're spending your money on, because you're really getting an idea of what you could potentially be saving your money on if you didn't spend the money. So once you've gotten that down, after 30 days, you have written down everything that you've spent your money on for that month. The next step is to save up an emergency fund. And for you guys that don't know, this is a big thing for a lot of people who give advice on how to pay off debt, is to save up an emergency fund. Me specifically, I have enjoyed reading Dave Ramsey's books. The Total Money Makeover is really great. Watching his YouTube videos, he has a series of them every day. Actually, he streams different snippets from his callers in the radio and on the phone. But I really think that having an emergency fund is an excellent way to start the next part of your budgeting and taking hold of your finances, because an emergency fund is going to allow you to take money from a fund that you have saved specifically for, instead of taking money from your check that can go towards bills or things that you intended to do for your kids or things for that month. So the recommendation is that if you make at least $30,000 a year, you want to save up an emergency fund of $1,000. And that's going to be your starter. This is really called baby step number 1, according to Dave Ramsey's book, is to save up an emergency fund of $1,000 if you make more than $30,000 a year. Now, if you make less than $30,000 a year, you're going to save up an emergency fund of at least $500. So the concept behind that is that if you make less than $30,000 a year, the type of situations that could come up for you over the year shouldn't be as cost expensive, because you're living off of less, hopefully, if you're making less. That's the concept behind it. If you're making more than $30,000 a year, you are living differently because you're making more. Also, we'll talk a little bit more about the mindset that you want to be in, regardless of how much or how little you're making, because that has a huge impact on you being able to save up money, regardless of whether you're making $10 an hour or $50 an hour. Because there's a guy that makes $50 an hour who potentially has nothing left at the end of each month, versus the guy who makes $10 an hour who has a mound of savings just because of his mentality. So that's a whole different subject that we definitely will get into later on. But for now, I just want to be sure that it comes across that you want to make sure you have an emergency fund of either $500 if you make less than $30,000 a year, or $1,000 if you make more than $30,000 a year. That is going to be your next goal. Ideally, this should be able to happen fairly quickly. You should not be taking a full 12 months to come up with your emergency fund of $1,000. That should not happen. If anything, you want to follow the steps that I've told you. Step number 1 is to track your expenses for 30 days. Don't do anything differently. Don't start saving if you haven't been saving. Don't stop saving if you've already been saving. Don't quit your job. Don't stop eating out. Don't do anything differently than what you are already doing for the next 30 days, and just write it down. Write down everything you're spending money on. After you've done that, then if you have not been saving, start saving. So that could be, it could take you a day, it could take you 2 days, however long it takes you to save up $1,000. If you have a lot of money that you're about to come into from somewhere, whether you're about to get paid from work, you Uber, you have a second job, whatever your situation is, if it can get you to $1,000, do it and save it. Take that $1,000 and put it in your savings account, label it emergency fund, and don't touch it. That is now something that is never going to be touched again unless you actually have an emergency. What is an emergency? An emergency, your car breaks down on the side of the road, you need roadside assistance, it's going to cost you $200 to get it towed, it's going to cost you $500 for all of your repairs. That's $500 plus $200, that's $700. Well, look, you have it because you have a $1,000 emergency fund. So those are the type of emergencies that I'm talking about. Hey honey, we need a new television, ours is starting to look a little dingy, I want a bigger size. That is not an emergency. That is something that you save up for. That is not an emergency. That does not come from your emergency fund. That comes from completely different savings that we will get into later, but first we need to start here and do baby steps 1. Okay, so once you have that down, once you've done your 30 days of really just monitoring what you are spending your money on, and then saving your $1,000, then we can talk about what to do next. So that's it for this video. I just want to keep them simple and make sure that the point comes across that you need to save, you need an emergency fund before you can do anything else, because that's going to give you a little bit of cushion should something come up that you actually need assistance with. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week as we talk more about what to do next. Bye-bye.